Watch what's approaching, the supreme moment. Reality striking closer than it seems, don't it? Go ahead, it's for the taking if you want it. If not, the dream dies and you'll be forever haunted. Then confront it.
What's good? Hopefully you guys are enjoying your Saturday morning, and I think to kick off the weekend, this will be a great test to start it off. Basically, the TEQ Ultimate Gohan that just came out on JP is a very, very good candidate for this type of video because he does have both the ability to greatly raise attack and defense prior to the transformation. So along with being a ridiculously good unit, this guy is certainly a very, very good candidate for this type of testing. So if you're new to the channel or this type of video format, the way the breakdown goes is literally you start from the very beginning of the battle and then progressively get to the 99 turn limit to essentially see how much you can stack the attack and defense. Now what's great right now that Dokkan recently implemented is the massively beneficial thing called the turn counter. So as you can see, you can actually see the turn count based on the amount of length going through the battle, and instead of me having to tell you specifically what turn it is, you'll be able to know exactly what turn the rotation is on. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the stats for the TEQ Ultimate Gohan himself. So prior to the transformation, and of course we can start off with the leader skill. So Saviors is a new category implemented, as well as Hybrid Saiyans category, Ki +3, HP increase of 130%, and then attack and defense increase of 170%. The Super TEQ, again, greatly raises attack and defense and causes immense damage to enemy. Now that greatly raised attack and defense is a 50% equivalent up to 99 turns. So within the 99 turns, you could honestly just keep stacking and see how ridiculous it will get. And trust me, it will get to some pretty crazy numbers. Now for the passive skill, it's an attack and defense increase of 140% and guards all attacks. Ki +1 at the start of each turn up to 3, plus an additional attack increase of 40% within the same turn when guard is activated. So because throughout the most of the video here, there is that restriction of the additional attack increase of 40% only applying once the guard is activated. So in order for that to happen, you obviously have to put the guy in the first slot, essentially. And you'll see that for the majority of the battle. Now with the active skill, you're actually able to transform into Ultimate Gohan starting from the 5th turn from the start of battle. And that's honestly not too bad, I guess, because honestly the pre-transformed state is also very, very good. The links aren't too bad. I mean, Brainiacs, All in the Family, the Saiyan Lineage, Cold Judgment Revival, Power Bestowed by God, and Fierce Battle. Again, all these can be mitigated because he does have built-in skill sets in the passive to build up Ki on his own. And a lot of categories for this unit as well: Hybrid Saiyans, Resurrected Warriors, Majin Buu Saga, Goku's Family, Siblings Bond, Revenge, Rapid Growth, and again the new category, which is the Saviors. And for the stats themselves, at 100% potential, you're looking at 16,950 for HP, attack is 17,368, and defense is 10,990. Now with the transformed state into Ultimate Gohan, the Super TEQ does change to greatly raise attack for 1 turn and causes immense damage with a medium chance of stunning the enemy. So again, once you transform into Ultimate Gohan, you will not be able to stack the attack and defense. And for the passive skill, it's Ki +3, attack and defense increase of 158% and guards all attacks, plus an additional attack increase of 58% for the rest of the battle when guard is activated. Attacks effective against all types when facing only one enemy whose HP is 58% or more, or when facing a Majin Buu Saga category enemy. Now with the links, they do kind of change depending on the transformed state. So once you become Ultimate Gohan, you will have additional, replacement links like Infighter, Saiyan Warrior Race, and Shocking Speed. Everything else still, remains the same for the overall skill sets. The rotational setup for this particular test is with the Great Saiyan, the strength version, because of the passive boost for allies, as well as a decent amount of links between the new TEQ Gohan unit as well as this guy. And then for the other one is the other Gohan unit that does provide a boost to the team as well, and honestly links up fairly well with the Great Saiyan as well. So it's a fairly good setup. You can certainly go with the linkage with the other, like strength or in Ultimate Gohan, but this format works out pretty well. And as you can see, I mean, look at those attack and defensive stats. I mean, that's what's ridiculous about it. And this is turn number 35, so you can imagine you keep progressing, and Broly is gonna have a hard time. So I think that's one of the things that's really crazy about this unit, right? Is for the most part, it's a lot of the units that do have stacking effects. It's the ability to increase attack or defense. Sometimes you get the benefit of attack and defense, but when it comes to greatly raised attack, it's very rare for a unit to be able to get both attack and defense boost. I mean, a lot of times it's either or, like the LR Agility Gohan, the ability to increase defense. The Transforming Goku Black, the end version, greatly raised defense. A couple of other units like the Kaioken Goku units, greatly raised attack. But there is very little, very few units that actually have the ability for both greatly raised attack and defense. So, I mean, look at that, 2 million in defense along with a 4.6 million attack stat. That is just, absolute ridiculousness. I mean, it's just hard to not put it that way. So again, 41 turns, that's a pretty massive amount of turns, and you're not really going to see that on a realistic scenario necessarily, but the option is there to, if Dokkan Battle decides to drag out battles, which might not necessarily be a bad thing, where you do have battles implemented or introduced in the game where it does take, up to 50 turns. Like, those could actually be kind of fun, especially when you bring in units that do stack, attack or defense. It would certainly be a good testing environment for that kind of stuff, for these types of units anyway. So it is a lot of fun in that regard, and I think, it could change things up a little bit. So yeah, it's certainly a good way to make some changes and see how things go. To me, that's, certainly worthwhile to kind of look into and potentially introduce in the game. But either way, like, this is just simply purely a test format, and it's pretty unrealistic. But again, this is more or less, again, like I said, an experiment just to see what the numbers will look like, and just out of curiosity, that's really the format. And I'm pretty sure, like, in the past, you guys have really enjoyed this type of video, so I'm pretty sure there's, interest level, that's shared, where you guys do also want to see how crazy things can get with, certain types of units. And, in the past, we've tested the defensive levels and attack levels for a variety of units, but there's very rare cases where you can actually see both attack and defensive boost. Like, it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, if you look at the stats right now, like, how many units can both have millions in attack stats and defensive stats at the same time? It's either or, right? So a lot of cases, like, you really won't see something like this. So that's kind of why people were making such a big deal out of this unit right now, over on Twitter and stuff like that, is because of the benefit. And along with that, I guess the other thing to note, right, is along with the greatly raising attack and defense stack effect, this guy has built-in skill sets where he can effectively guard against all types. So talk about a broken unit, right? I mean, it really is a ridiculously good unit for, I mean, starting off the bat, like, you do reap the benefits of the skill sets built in, and that's what's great about it, is you don't necessarily have to build things up. Like, he can defend well from the get-go, and the longer the battle is, he only gets better, you know what I mean? So, I mean, what is that, 7 million and 2.7 million in defense? Like, yeah, I mean, 7.6 million attack stats, 2.7 million in defense. That's, like, literally you could collect one orb and, like, get so much in HP recovery too. That's the other thing to think about, is when you're going through ridiculously tough battles that drag out potentially, all you need is a couple of orbs. You can, a couple of the tech orbs to obtain, and you're going to massively recover a lot of HP just because of the defensive levels being crazy. Again, you're not ever going to be at this point of, I don't even know what the turn count is, 71. I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of turns, but if it ever gets to that point where in the game we have a mode like that, then you're going to see the benefits of it. But again, this is more or less just curiosity, experimenting how how the numbers look, and that's pretty much the extent of it. So that's the takeaway with that, I would say, anyway. I mean, yeah, 4 million in defense, along with a, what is that, 9 million attack stats? Yeah, that is quite ridiculous. 83 turns. You know, from all the testing I've done, and I think this is fair to say, this is probably one of the crazier, if not craziest unit I've seen with the Kaioken mechanic built-in skill sets, because of, again, both attack and defense. It's quite ridiculous. And you know, even like the LR Agility Gohan, because he only has the ability to raise defense, whereas Ultimate Gohan has the greatly raised defense, 4.4 is probably one of the highest I've seen so far in terms of like the defensive abilities. And a lot of times it does depend on the ability of additional super attacks kicking in. So, you know, obviously for this guy, it's better to go a little bit heavier focus on additional attacks. So with the tech units, you know, the initial distribution without the skill is factored in. You could go up to level 15 for additionals and level 11 for the crits. So, you know, that's certainly a good way to go about it in that regard. Yeah, it's just getting beyond the realms outside of reality at this point, once you go 89 turns. So, and you can look at Broly's HP levels, you know, it's definitely applying a decent amount of damage. And by the way, the Great Saiyaman does stack his attack as well. Not defense, but has the ability to stack the attack. That's why you're seeing the numbers in that case. And I forgot to mention that earlier, but I'm sure you noticed at this point, yes, he does also stack his attack abilities. And, you know, that's why you're seeing the numbers inflate a little bit as well. I mean, the fact that you're able to apply 1.3 million in attack against Broly, who has amazing defense, tells you all you need to know at this point. And yeah, this guy's also being able to produce, you know, close to 10 million in attack stats at this point, given it is like 90 turns in the battle itself, which is very, very long, but at the same time, it's yeah, it's certainly very nice, to say the least. Yeah, what is that? Is that 5 million? Did I just see 5 million for defense? Wow, right? That's all you can say. I mean, it is 95 turns at the end of the day, so it's unrealistic, but you got to understand how I look at it. You have to understand from all the previous testing I've done of various units and comparing it to that. And in that regard, this guy could easily be a contender to take the cake because of how ridiculous things are. It truly is ridiculous. And again, I do have to reiterate, because this, you know, some people might get confused. This is not realistic by any means, but even from a test.